Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned the honor and privilege of your subscription. And of course, to everybody who's watching, if you enjoy this video or get anything out of it, please take some time to click that thumbs up button down below. That's so important. And if you'd really like to help support my channel financially, maybe take your support to the next level, you can visit eguitarplans.com or my Highline Guitars merch store. There's links in the description below. And any purchase you make there is going to help support this channel so that I can keep making guitars like this. And if you want to keep it simple, you can just click the thanks button down below and leave a tip in the amount you think is fair. So what I'm going to be talking about today, if you can't already tell, is I'm going to start sanding the body of this guitar body. And this is the 6-string multi-scale fan fret guitar that I've been working on. I've already finished the neck, so now I'm going to sand the body in preparation for applying the finish, which will come in a future episode. And so I'm going to bring you in a little closer and we're going to talk about the process that I follow, at least for now, as I sand a guitar body and get it ready for finish. Okay, so what I'm going to be using is, this is my DeWalt Random Orbital Sander. It's a 5-inch 8-hole sander. And that's what I'll be doing most of the sanding work with. And as an abrasive, I'm going to be using these Diablo sanding discs. These are the net type sanding discs. And you can get these, like I just showed you, from Diablo. You can also get them from Mirka. They sell a sanding disc called Abranet that works really well also. And what I like about these is the fact that they are, you can really clear the dust away as you're working. But of course, to do that, the sander needs to be hooked up to either a shop vac or, as in my case, a dust extraction system. So that's going to suck all the dust away right up through the sanding pad or the sanding disc. And they usually come with it's an interface pad that goes between the sander and the disc itself. And that just gives a little bit of cushion. But this works very fast, very efficiently, and does a great job to sand the surface really smooth. Now, whenever you use random orbital sanders like this, DeWalt, you have to be careful to avoid the dreaded curly Q sanding scratches that can appear on the surface. And typically those appear because you're using either a poor quality sanding abrasive, you're not evacuating the dust as you're sanding, but more importantly, oftentimes you're applying too much downward force as you're sanding, and you're moving the sander too fast over the surface. So you want to cut your speed way down, and you want to let just the weight of the sander do the trick. Your hand should do nothing but steer it. And this will help to reduce the number of and the frequency of those curly Q sanding scratches. It may not be a guarantee, but it will reduce them significantly. So that way, later on when you go to apply the finish, those little curly Qs don't suddenly jump out at you, because in truth, they can be fairly difficult to see as you're sanding raw wood. Now, the grits that I'm going to be using are basically 2 sanding grits. I'm going to use 220 to do the majority of the sanding first. Then I'll switch over to 400. Now, when I get into these cutout areas, that's going to be a little bit difficult because I really can't get my sander down inside there very easily. When I do that, or get to that stage, I'm going to switch over to my oscillating spindle sander to sand those. And I'll probably do most of this work in here with 220 grit. And then I'll finish by hand sanding with the 400 grit. And of course, I'm going to wear a mask as well. Even though I'm sucking the dust away with my dust extractor, I still like to wear a mask just because I don't want to breathe in a lot of dust and spend the rest of the day coughing and hacking up sanding dust. As you're sanding, you want to stop periodically to check your progress. And you can't check it by just simply looking at it or even feeling it with your fingers. It's very difficult to see surface abnormalities in raw wood as you're sanding. But one way that you can do it is with a shop light. And the best way to use the shop light is with all the other lights switched off. By turning the light on and holding it at a low angle over the surface, you can really start to see surface flaws like tool marks, sanding scratches, gouges, nicks very easily with a low angle bright light. And I'm using a 100 watt LED bulb for this. And I can see I have a pretty significant gouge right here where the glue seam is. So I need to keep working that area. Now, even though I did a lot of sanding using my random orbital sander all the way up to 400 grit, I still like to sand the entire body once over with 400 grit by hand, because when you sand by hand, you can spot and feel and sense little abnormalities that would escape attention when using the random orbital sander. So it only takes a couple of minutes, but that I think can make the difference between a finish that is easy to apply and looks great over the entire surface, and one that may look great over most of the surface, but maybe not so great in other spots. So I recommend taking a couple of minutes just to do a little bit of 400 grit sanding over the entire surface of the whole body. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to vacuum off all the dust from the surface. And then I'm going to apply a single coat of Sutherland Wells polymerized tung oil sealer. And I'm applying this because later on I intend to finish the surface with their interior polymerized tung oil finish. But I want to use the sealer now and just a single thin coat, because it's going to soak into the wood. It's going to dry overnight, but it's going to darken the wood a little bit, because that's what happens when you apply any kind of a liquid to the surface of raw wood. But in doing so, that helps to reveal any potential flaws that I might have missed during the sanding process. And because this product dries so fast, tomorrow I can look at it, and if I see any other scratches on the surface, I can go back and sand those with 220 to 400 grit and proceed from there. Okay, I'm not seeing any flaws that are jumping out at me at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and let this dry overnight, and then I'll come back, take a look at it, see if there are any little flaws that need to be touched up. If not, then I'm going to sand the whole surface again with 400 grit before I start to proceed on with the next step in finishing. So I'm going to go ahead and hang this up to dry, and I'm probably going to end this video right at this point. So in the next episode, I'm going to, I'll show you how this looks at this stage, and then I'm going to start testing my finish. And I'm going to actually be testing on a piece of scrap that I cut from the boards that I used to make this body. And I can test on this scrap to get a feel for how that's going to look. So the next episode should get fairly interesting. So as always, I hope that this video has inspired you. I hope it's answered some questions, maybe given you some food for thought. If you have any comments or questions, put them down in the comment section down below. And as always, please click that thumbs up button. Visit Highline Guitars merch store, the e-Guitar Plans website, or just click that thanks button down below. Leave a tip in the amount that you think is fair, and I hope to see you back for the next episode in this exciting adventure of building a 6-string multi-scale fan fret guitar.